start?
Please go ahead.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I, Bharat Nainwani, General Secretary, Entrepreneurship Cell, Amity University, Rajasthan, Amity Innovation Incubator, Jaipur, would like to welcome you all to the Faculty Development Program on Role of Intellectual Property Rights in Innovation and Research, Building Future Together, organized by Institutions Innovation Council, Amity University, Rajasthan, in collaboration with eCell AUR, Amity Innovation Incubator, Jaipur, supported by Atal Innovation Mission. It is a professional development program that aims to assist and facilitate upgradation of knowledge and skill, and also provides induction training to all the teachers employed in various disciplines. This program would mainly focus on providing skill enhancement. To mark a divine start to our program, ladies and gentlemen, we have the very auspicious lamp lighting ceremony as a tribute to our mother Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge.
Trial. Trial.
देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा
Trial.
शुक्लां ब्रह्म विचारसार परमाम् आद्यां जगद्व्यापिनीं
Trial.
वीणा पुस्तकधारिणीम् अभयदाम्
Trial.
जाड्यान्धकारापहा
Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge and art, represents the free flow of wisdom and consciousness. She has four hands representing the four aspects: intellect, alertness, and ego. With her other two hands, she plays the string instrument of love and life called Veena. Dressed in white, she is the symbol of purity. She rides a white swan symbolizing Sattvaguna. Moving ahead, we have with us Dr. Manju Kaushik, organizing chair of the FDP program. Dr. Manju Kaushik ma'am is the president of Institutions Innovation Council, AUR, associate professor at Amity Institute of Information Technology, head of Amity Innovation Incubator, Jaipur, eCell, IEEE, and ACM branch counselor and coordinator technical clubs at Amity University, Rajasthan. She has more than 16 years of experience in the field of teaching and research. She was awarded PhD from Mohanlal Sukhadia University, Udaipur, for her work on a critical study of traditional and component-based software engineering models and development of integrated M model. Her research papers have been published in various journals and conferences of national and international repute, like IEEE, Spinger, Silver, and other SCI index. She has also organized international conference in more than 40 events, including workshop, webinars, competitions, FDPs, and awareness programs. 2 research scholars have been successfully awarded PhD under her supervision. She's an active reviewer of different index journals. Presently, she is the executive member of Rajasthan subsection of IEEE and member of ACM, life member of ISTE and CSI. She is the Scopus Index editor of JCIT Journal, IGI Global. She has published 2 patents and she's the editor of 2 books. I would like to invite ma'am to tell us more about the program. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Bharat, for this lovely introduction. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Rakesh Bhatnagar, sir. Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Amit Jain, sir. Guest of honor, Professor Dr. Hans Goder. All the eminent speakers, respected provost, deans, directors, registrars, HOIs, and my dear colleagues. A very good morning. I, Dr. Manju Kaushik, welcome you all to the inaugural ceremony of the Faculty Development Program on the role of intellectual property rights in innovation and research. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome Professor Dr. Hans Goder as the guest of honor for the program. Dr. Goder is European patent and trademark attorney and is a partner at Bohem and Bohem. His office is located in Munich. Professor Goder teaches patent and licensing law as an honorary professor of intellectual property at the University of Berlin and at the Munich Intellectual Property Law Center, Munich, and also at various foreign universities. This is a professional development program that intends to facilitate upgradation of knowledge related to IPR and also to provide induction and training to teachers employed in various disciplines such as engineering and technology, pharmacy, hotel management and catering, technology, law, architecture, town planning, and applied arts and crafts. Intellectual property is a form of proprietorship that encompasses the intangible development trademarks, copyrights, and industrial designs came to be known as intellectual property rights that provide protection for creation and inventions to enable creators and inventors to earn recognition and financial benefits from their work. IPR in today's India plays a vital role taking into consideration Make in India and Startup India, which solely depends on the boost of innovation ecosystem with better IPR safeguarding. A total of 170 plus faculties and research scholars from across India have registered for the program. Speakers for the program will be Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Majumdar, Ms. Latika Khanduja, Ms. Rimchim Mathur, LLM from London, IP Attorney, Advocate, Rajasthan High Court, Dr. Abhishek Kumar Tiwari, Assistant Professor and Deputy Director, University Law College, Rajasthan University, Mr. Dipendra Singh Chauhan, Examiner of Trademarks and GI at Intellectual Property Office, India, Dr. Rohit Jain, Patent and Trademark Attorney at Lex IPR, Jaipur, Rajasthan, India, Dr. Saroj Bohra, Director, Amity Law School, Amity University, Rajasthan, Dr. G.B. Reddy, Professor of Law, Osmania University, Hyderabad. This program aims to developing IPR infrastructure in order to support startups and protection of their innovative ideas and rights. Protection of IP is crucial for startups in view of the value it brings to the business, right from attracting investors to leveraging against competition, generating revenue from licensing, assignment, or transfer arrangements, and contributing to the company's branding and marketing strategy. Startups need to invest and take as many precautions as they can to protect their IP. So this was the brief of 5-day faculty development program. Thank you so much. Over to Mr. Bharat.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This program will truly benefit all the participants. Moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Professor Dr. Amit Jain, sir, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Rajasthan. Professor Dr. Amit Jain is currently Pro Vice Chancellor, Dean Faculty of Management, and Director, Amity Business School at Amity University, Rajasthan. Prior to this, Professor Amit was Director, International Collaborations and Professor Tapmi School of Business at Manipal University, Jaipur. Professor Amit has been a visiting faculty with University of Technology, UTS, Sydney, Australia, Chizny Istvan University, Hungary, Székely Jonas University, Slovakia. Professor Amit holds a PhD from Sardar Patel University and has completed FDP from IIM Ahmedabad. Professor Amit is actively involved in teaching, training, research, and has been associated with various management and training institutes as guest faculty. Professor Amit has designed and conducted training programs and sessions for executives of various organizations, including IDBI Bank, Bank of Baroda, JK Tires, JK Lakshmi Cement, Claris Life Sciences, Patanjali, etc. He has several publications to his credit and has patented research papers at national and international conferences. His professional associations include Life Membership of Indian Society for Training and Development, and currently holds the position of National Council member. He is a member of All India Management Association and IIM Ahmedabad Alumni Association. Dr. Amit is a reviewer and committee member with several journals and conferences and is editorial board member of Indian Journal of Training and Development. He is also chief editor of Amity Management Review. His area of interest for research, training, and consultancy include marketing strategy, sales management, digital marketing, marketing communication, retail management, and entrepreneurship. It is an honor to invite you for welcome address, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Bharat. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar, guest of honor and the keynote speaker for the event, Dr. Hans Goder. I hope I am pronouncing it right. The coordinator of the event, Dr. Manju Kaushik, Dr. Chitresh Banerjee, our supporting team from Amity Innovation Incubator, comprising of Mr. Sahil Bhutani, other coordinators, Dr. Pallavi Mishra, student volunteers, Mr. Bharat Nenwani, all my faculty colleagues, deans, directors at Amity University, Rajasthan, a very warm welcome to one and all. It is indeed a matter of great pride for all of us that the team at Amity Innovation Incubator and the Institute's Innovation Council has taken this initiative of organizing such a wonderful program, which is focused towards the role of IPR in innovation and research. First of all, I am really grateful to our Honorable Founder President and Honorable Chancellor, because it is their vision and passion for innovation and creativity that motivates us to organize such programs where we can share our learnings and expertise from peers across the globe, and at the same time bring experts from the entire globe at Amity platform to make or enrich us with their knowledge and expertise. In fact, as it is said that a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And I'll say that this is very true and apt for our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rakesh Bhatnagar. Because when it comes to IPR, when it comes to innovation and research, he is someone who has made a very significant contribution, as a professor, as a scientist, as an academician, and as a practitioner and a professional. Someone who has patents to his credit, someone who has been very actively involved in creating some new ventures and startups, someone who is rated as the top scientist of the country. We are really honored and blessed. At the same time, I'm so happy to find Dr. Hans Goder with us as the keynote speaker today. I was going through his profile. This is my first interaction with him, but I'm really impressed looking at that he has shown his excellence in almost all the domains. Be it teaching law, be it practicing a law as attorney or a trademark attorney or a patent lawyer, or practicing it. He has shown his excellence in almost all the domains. Dr. Goder, you are a role model for each one of us because you are not only contributing to the academic body of law in the field of IPR, but you are practicing it, you are guiding it, and you are a guiding light for many new entrepreneurs across the globe. You are associated with several organizations also as a visiting professor. Equally true is for this vibrant team of organizers who are as of now in this panel represented by Dr. Manju Kaushik, Dr. Banerjee, and Dr. Pallavi. All of you are doing a great work. This is need of the hour. We all need to sensitize each and every of our students, each and every of our faculty towards the importance of IPR in fueling, in facilitating the innovation and research at the institution, and you have taken a right step towards that. I'm told that there are a good number of participants who are already registered. I believe more than 200 attendees are going to be there. In fact, close to 100 have joined this session itself, this being only the inaugural session. So I wish a great success to the event. Over to you, Bharat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your words are truly inspirational for us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are fortunate to have with us Professor Dr. Rakesh Bhatnagar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Rajasthan. He is a PhD from Department of Biochemistry, National Sugar Institute, Kanpur, and has worked at Frankfurt University, Germany, University of Caen, France, and National Institute of Health, USA. He pioneered the teaching of biotechnology at Jawaharlal Nehru University. Sir is well known for developing recombinant vaccine against anthrax. He has been former vice chancellor of many prestigious universities like Banaras Hindu University and Kumon University, Nainital, in addition to being J.C. Bose Fellow. Sir has been elected Fellow of 3 major science academies in India, namely Indian National Science Academy, New Delhi, Indian Academy of Science, Bangalore, and National Academy of Science, Allahabad, and is recipient of many honors, including 2016 President of India Visitors Award for Innovation. Now I invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to say a few words. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for kind words. Good morning to all of you. My chief guest, Dr. Heinz Goddard, my Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Amit Jain, organizer of this program, Professor Manju, and all the deans and directors, faculty members, the resource persons, and all the delegates who have come to attend this important faculty development program. Let me start with the thing that when we do science, one is to create knowledge. Another important aspect of creating knowledge is that the knowledge which has been created to help the society. I always feel that all our science is funded by mostly taxpayers' money. And when taxpayers are paying for the pleasure of our doing science, we have to reciprocate in doing something for the society. And the best thing we can do for the society is to do innovation by doing high quality of research. If you look at the Western world, no country has become a developed country without doing innovation. You have 2 choices. Either you innovate or you buy innovation. We are a country of 1.3 billion people. If you want to buy the innovation, it is simply not affordable. I give you a very simple example. Suppose you want to buy an iPhone for the whole country. We need 1.3 billion iPhones. And one iPhone on an average costs about $1,000. That means we need $1.3 billion just to buy a cell phone. And cell phone is not the only thing in life. You need lot of goodies for life, which makes your life more comfortable, more enjoyable. So you cannot simply afford to buy the things, you have to innovate. If you innovate things, and if your innovation is better than the things which are already there in the market, the chances are that you are not only going to produce and going to fulfill the requirement of our countrymen and women, of course, we would also like to exploit the market where India has an advantage because our cost of manpower is cheap. As China has flooded the market throughout the world, anything you buy, even if you buy an iPhone, if you look at on the box, it's made in China. So if we have to create the market for Indian products, and if we want to become a developed country, to create the wealth for our countrymen, so that the taxpayers can pay more money for the universities to do research, do innovation. I still remember when I was about to finish my PhD, I was a little concerned whether I'm going to get a good postdoc or not, whether I am going to get a faculty position or not. So even as a 24-year-old boy, I tried to innovate a product and incorporated a startup company at the age of 24. And our product was being sold in the market. But during that time, when I finished my PhD, a German professor came to my laboratory and he delivered a talk. And I asked him a very interesting question. He was impressed with the question and he offered me a position to work in Freiburg University. And I migrated to Freiburg. I worked there for about 3-4 years and then returned back to India. But finally I went to France and eventually to United States, as you have told. But when I was working in United States, a new technology was coming. That was biotechnology. I'm talking about mid-80s. That was the time when biotechnology was developing in United States. India took a right step to think that we should start developing manpower in biotechnology so that when the biotechnology industry comes to India, there will be no shortage of trained people in biotechnology. So with this aim, many of us were invited from United States to join different universities and start sharing the knowledge which we have learned in Germany, France, and United States with our students, train them so that they are industry ready, train them so that they can innovate themselves, train them so that there is no dearth of trained manpower in Indian biotechnology industry, which was simply not there in the middle of 80s, rather late of 80s. However, when we produce this manpower, very well trained, they went and worked in biopharma industry. And that is the reason why India is the highest producer of vaccines anywhere in the world. The total production of the world vaccines, India has the share of for about 70%. Otherwise, in this corona time, we would not have been able to immunize 400 million people already, which is much more than the population of the United States. India has already done that. Therefore, it is very important to learn the modern technology and apply this modern technology to innovate new products. And once you innovate new products, you have to understand what is IPR, intellectual property right. Just like you buy anything with your money. Suppose you are buying a house, you become owner of the intellectual property. You become owner of the property. Similarly, when you derive anything out of your intellect and it's a novel product, it is not a prior art, it has some use for the society, you have created a intellectual property. It may be a new product, it may be copyright, it may be a design, it may be a geographical indicator or any other thing. So therefore, when I came back to India, I wanted that we should develop the products which can eventually go to the market. So I had two very interesting occasions which I would like to share with you to motivate the young faculty members. One was to develop a genetically engineered vaccine against anthrax, because anthrax was a problem in West Bengal. People are battling and they didn't know the solution. So my laboratory started working on developing this product, and eventually when the product was ready, we did not know anything about patenting. So we were about to call a press conference with Minister of Science and Technology to declare that we have developed the genetically engineered vaccine against anthrax. I was told by the company that we should first file the patent and then only we should talk about it. Otherwise, it becomes a known knowledge. So let us file a patent. And that was the day I filed my first patent, first in India, then PCT, and eventually to United States and many other countries. I filed the patent in 24 countries to protect the invention so that the company we are transferring the technology, they can make money for next 20 years. Therefore, second experience I had when a diagnostic company came to me that they would like me to develop a product which can differentiate drug resistance tuberculosis with a normal tuberculosis. And we worked hard with the company and created a product which can differentiate in just, I can tell you in terms of US dollars, in less than $3. In less than $3, we can find out whether the person has drug-resistant TB so that the proper treatment can be given. So all these things, when you discover, unless you protect your invention by IPR, you cannot transfer the technology to a company, because the company will first thing ask, what is the IPR status of your invention? What is the IPR?
I guess, ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing a network glitch here. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your words of wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to have with us Professor Dr. Heinz Goddard, our guest of honor for today's inaugural session. Professor Dr. Heinz Goddard, patent attorney and European patent and trademark attorney, is a partner at Boehmert and Boehmert. He teaches patent and licensing laws as an honorary professor for intellectual property at the University of Berlin and at the Munich Intellectual Property Law Center, Munich, as well as various foreign universities. Professor Dr. Goddard is a past president of LES and International and as a former president member of advisory board at LES Germany. Professor Goddard is counted IM Strategy 250 among the world leading IP strategists. The Schuh Handbook of 2019-20 ranks Professor Goddard as one of the leading names among German patent attorney with physics as their technical focus. Best Lawyers 2018 rated him among the top attorneys in Germany. Legal 500 Germany in 2015-16 recommends in the field of patent law. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Heinz Goddard. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for the warm words and the welcome. And I am really flattered by the fact that I have been invited to speak on this important topic here today. Maybe I should refer right away to what Professor Bhatnagar just said, that you need to innovate, to innovate, to innovate. Otherwise, you remain an importing country somehow. A friend of mine, Professor Paul Liu from Taiwan, once defined some 20 years, 30 years ago, already the way which Taiwan in the early days when Professor Liu was still there, he was then in the United States, back to Taiwan, was still an undisputed part of China, that he said, well, China went the way which many countries, and not the least Germany went, namely, first, importation of goods, second, imitation of goods, what was imported, then comes only invention that you start to develop yourself, and at the end you innovate. So it is importation, imitation, invention, innovation. This is the course where people go. As you know, Germany in the outgoing 19th century, or maybe beginning in the middle of 19th century, was forced more or less by countries like Britain to identify all German goods as made in Germany. This was not quality driven. It was to show it is imitation. It is what people believe today when they buy many things manufactured in countries like, I don't wish to discriminate anything, but for example, China. So Germany went that way, quality increased, Germany started innovating, and later on, made in Germany became a quality sign on goods. That was the way. Now, in order to innovate, you need a lot of money, generally. Universities are usually, at least in my country, in Germany, they are supported and driven mainly, by far mainly, by public money, by the government. We have very few private universities in Germany, private research institutions, and the money which is invested to develop new pharmaceuticals, vaccines, electronic articles, iPhones, we heard about this, comes from private investors who have always a choice. They either can, and I did this pretty often, talk about with my students in India. I was really in the position to go there many times since about 1991, 92 or something, just in the times when India was thinking of introducing the TRIPS provisions, etc. And I could speak with many people. If you have the chance to buy some wonderful penthouse, maybe overlooking the Arabian Sea in Mumbai, or to invest into R&D, and you don't wish to live in that penthouse or in this house at all yourself, you will see where does my investment bring the biggest, the most return over my investment. I wish to earn money out of what I'm investing. And if I'm not promised to earn money from innovating, from inventing, then I will invest into housing. And that is the steering function which nowadays intellectual property rights particularly patents from my viewpoint, have. The Venetians in the 14th century still wanted to solicit disclosure of inventions to avoid that things are kept secret, rather to be published so that every newcomer could stand on the shoulders of giants and build new things. But nowadays it is a steering function to steer capital into R&D, into innovation at the end of the day. Now, what did TRIPS propose for that? TRIPS proposed for that in the discussions in the early 90s. It came into force 1st of January 1995. They proposed two things. First, we should have a strong fence around the beautiful garden we are developing, with fruits in it, with trees in it, out of our innovation. So we wish to avoid unauthorized access of others into that garden, because as long as we can exclusively enjoy the commercial benefit of the fruits we have created, protected by the fence, we can usually get higher profits, higher prices. And in our capitalist societies nowadays, we all probably have to admit this. So though many of us will probably not like it so much, including myself, only profit making is the basic rule which entrepreneurs have to follow. Otherwise, they will die. Their companies where they work, where they try to innovate, will die. So they wish to make profit. Fence out of patents, for example, I talk now about patents around the innovations, guarantee that I have a competitive advantage later on with the products I am creating through my innovation in the marketplace. TRIPS said this to the third world, to emerging countries, to everybody: you need strong intellectual property systems in order that innovation takes place. But also TRIPS provided for one thing, and this is the sharing aspect. This is Article 7, 8 and 9 included, but 7 is most important of TRIPS. And I tell my students always, what does this say? You must have a fence in there. You must have a door in the fence. The fence protects against unauthorized use. The door is to allow authorized use. And that means you are willing, and you should be willing, because that was the promise what got the general agreement of which WTO at the end of the day told the world, that if you have strong intellectual property rights, there's always a fence. There's always a fence, and there's always a door in it. And the door will be practically opened under fair, reasonable, non-discriminatory conditions to others. So the fence is for fostering, for improving the preparedness of investors to invest into R&D, to create it, and once created, the door is there to share it with others. And the conditions of that sharing we call a license scenario. You allow, licere, Latin word, you allow others to go into your garden, to take your fruits. All perfect, all very nice, and the interplay of that always has fascinated me and was at the end of the day the reason why I choose to look in my professional life more into how to develop this use of the friendly side of intellectual property rights, as I call it. I've given many speeches by saying licensing the friendly side of intellectual property rights, namely how and under what conditions to share what has been created. I was never on the side so much, particularly also not when I had the pleasure to be in India and to talk with colleagues and friends, industry and academia there, on the side of the people who said, you must have better enforcement, keep others away. No, you need conditions how to share. Now we come to our COVID-19 situation. Based on all this, on my personal background, I heard, of course, in October last year, immediately about the proposal of South Africa and India to waive intellectual property rights. And since then, I've been in close contact with the Intellectual Property Office of WTO, of the World Trade Organization. Tony Taubman Müller-Ewert is a fellow academic from Munich. He comes the deputy director of the Intellectual Property Office of WTO, and both are in Geneva, and we shared a lot of our views. And at that time, when the proposal came up, I could fully understand the idea, of course, that you should share the vaccines made wherever in the world, the knowledge how to make them, to give the ability to as many countries in the world, and particularly to what some people say pharmacy of the world, to India, with this huge capacity to produce vaccines, not only in the own country, for the own country, but particularly also we remember all the early discussions. When are you, before the Doha Declaration of TRIPS came, when are you entitled to produce because of need in other countries, like in Africa, who cannot produce pharmaceuticals? How and under what conditions can you use that as a reason to impose what we have introduced and see introduced into TRIPS since a long time as compulsory licensing provisions? So I thought waiver is one possibility, but let's maybe for a moment not look at that. My first idea was, what is the hidden agenda? And I must say, I was of the opinion that the agenda, and I'm still of the opinion, of the initiators of the waiver proposal was to make vaccines as quickly as possible available all over the world. I was fully convinced of this until a certain moment, and that moment came quicker than expected, when there was a sudden move of a friendly country from Germany looked across the Atlantic, namely the United States, who suddenly supported the waiver. And I thought, what is the reason behind all this? I remembered that, and this is maybe not a bad idea to think of this before I go on with my little presentation here today, that most of the patent applications, that means defense elements protecting development and production of certain vaccines, particularly the mRNA technology, most of these patent applications are not published yet, as you know. We have this 18 months period of darkness in the patent system. That means for 18 months after the first priority date, the first application filed on such a vaccine, these applications are not published. Rather, for 18 months, you don't know, if you don't look internally into certain developments, who holds the patents, who is following the rule, of course, that you must file always before you publish, before you speak about it, before you use the possibility of the IPR system without risk of losing your own innovation rights with others. And 18 months ago, we are now in July 2021. That means it is in very early 2020. And this was incidentally the time when the whole, if I may say so, disaster started. I came back on the 14th of January after a dinner with professors from Wuhan in Shanghai to Germany. I landed, and since then I could not leave Europe anymore. I mean, this is all the developments we know about. So you will find out when these patent applications are published that by far most of the basic ones of BioNTech, of CureVac, are owned by spin-offs from German universities like BioNTech in Mainz University, not too far from Freiburg, actually. I was delighted to hear about Freiburg. I love the city and I've often been there. I had my first 4 semesters until my pre-diploma in physics in Tübingen, and then only I went to Mainz, so not too far away from Freiburg. And the point is that all these companies got a lot of private, also public money, but the final reason why, for example, what we call in Germany typically not the Pfizer vaccine, we call it the BioNTech vaccine, of course, was developed because of a big capital injection by certain private investors coming from SAP founders, coming from what is nowadays Novartis, it was Hexal, it was certain founders, the brothers Strüngmann. Billions and billions of dollars went into these developments. The licensees, corporation partners, but basically licensees are companies, you know, like Pfizer, you know, like Moderna, you know, like other companies. And then it occurred to me, oh, if we waive intellectual property rights, that means we remove the fence around the innovations, then all of a sudden we have no patents anymore. And no patents means in legal language, in patent law, no obligation to pay anymore. That means all these fees which BioNTech, for example, I don't know the contracts, of course, with other companies, but this would be, I assume, if one checks it, the content thereof, all the agreements where they have somebody has to pay at the door to enter the garden with the fruits, namely by licensing, all these payments have not to be made anymore. No patents, no payment. This is a typical situation in all license agreements of this world. So I thought it might not be such a good idea to have the intellectual property rights waived. It might be a much better idea, and this is the advice I gave to the German Federal Ministry of Economy, who asked me late last year already for advice, and I'm continuing to give this advice and to talk with them. I think it is much better to look at the fathers of TRIPS and the further developers of TRIPS, including not the least India, accepting the value and importance and necessity to have the door in the fence, which consists of the patents, namely to allow licensing, that we have the possibility that unwilling parties, licensor and licensee, to be, can be forced under the control of the sovereign, of the governments of this world, to open the door under reasonable conditions, fair conditions. And this is what we call compulsory licensing. So I think that particularly a country like India has a very solid, robust compulsory licensing system, and it should be used in situations where unreasonable parties, unreasonable innovators who have created the fruits but who don't wish to share, that they are somehow encouraged, better to say forced to license. But here comes the big difference. Compulsory licensing is never, or at least it has not necessarily to be cost-free. That means only that the conditions under which the door can be entered into the innovated area, that this fee which you have to pay, that this is determined by the sovereign, and the sovereign can never renounce, can never give up that right. We all agree. When I talk with American friends, I'm often in the United States. Some of my clients are very big and powerful US companies. I always say, yes, the market will regulate it all. But the question is always, what if not? And if not, the sovereign cannot give up its right to make the people willing licensees and willing licensors, and then have the door open and to give the possibility to share. So I'm a strong defender of the control mechanisms in TRIPS, that means of compulsory licensing possibilities, but I'm not in favor of waiving intellectual property rights, because then the fence is gone. Then nobody will invest anymore for the next pandemia, which will come, for the ongoing developments of the pandemia we have at the moment. The investment will be lacking. The public investment, maybe not so much, but the private one. And without private investment, it is not possible to encourage people, improvers who wish even to make better vaccines, let's say in India, to develop. By the way, this is a problem in India. I have talked with many politically active people, economists in India, also on conferences. I say this whenever I can. We should never forget that TRIPS also provides for a provision. India has it in its patent law. We also have it in our patent law. In Germany, it is Article 24(2) of our patent law. We have a second kind of compulsory licensing, the normal one, goods in need which are not made available by the patentee, like in these crises we have at the moment. That is the normal compulsory licensing. I don't wish to talk about that. But we have an Article 24(2) which says, if you improve an already patented method, pharmaceutical, vaccine, whatever, if you improve it in an important manner and patent it, you are entitled as a matter of law in a cross license with the owner of the primary patent. Let's assume BioNTech. Let's assume there is a BioNTech patent which exists in Germany. And if somebody else comes now and concentrates its R&D on an improvement of the BioNTech, some further side effect is removed, some other variant can be fought by this promoted or better vaccine, and you get a patent on it, and then you go to Mr. BioNTech and you say, listen, I wish a license to be able to bring this improved product to the market because it is still under your patent, of course. A simple thing, if Mr. Daimler has a patent on a car with 4 wheels and you invent with no brakes, and you invent a car with 4 wheels and brakes at each wheel, much better car, you cannot produce that car because it is still under the control of the owner of the 4-wheel patent, and vice versa. Nobody can bring this improved car to the market. Rather, you need this compulsory cross-licensing. That means if you then cannot get the license from the owner of this primary patent, and you have the secondary patent, then you are entitled without public interest in German patent law, for example, to be checked. It is automatic. You can request a cross-license. Not necessarily without balancing payments, depending on the prioritization and the merits of both inventions, but you have the right to get a license so that the improved product in the interest of mankind come to the marketplace. Now comes the problem with India, which I have with the prohibition in India to, let's say, to patent improvements on pharmaceuticals, including, for example, completely prohibiting second medical use patents, which is usually the easiest way to create improvements and to patent them. Because that takes away, particularly from domestic innovative industry in India, the possibility easily to develop improvements, further developments of patented substances, patented methods, patented vaccines, whatever, which are held by foreigners, and you cannot get your cross-licensing right established, which is by TRIPS necessary. So I think it would be in the great interest of Indian industry, if I may give this just comment here, to create an improved possibility to patent improvements on pharmaceuticals, be it on substance, on let's say structural changes of patented substances, be it just by allowing second medical use patents, because that gives a currency like money into the hands of the improver to go to the primary patent owner and request a cross-license, and you can do then at the price of allowing also the originator under certain conditions to use your improvement. And I think this is I think the fathers of the prohibitions or the difficulties in Indian patent law to patent improvements, including second medical use patents, if I may call them improvements, the fathers had the good idea to avoid evergreening. I fully understand this. And I know that there is a lot of abuse of the secondary inventors, let's say, if it is the same inventor as the inventor who owns the primary patent, to extend forever, to perpetuate your patent protection. But if the developer is somebody else, it is an improver who concentrates on further developing, that is a different story. If you don't give that person a patent, you deprive him or her of the right to get a cross-license under the primary patent. But setting this aside, I believe that India has a robust compulsory licensing system that many countries have, and the politicians have only to be courageous enough to use it. This depends always on political power, but I think a country like India has that power. A country like China also has it. Many other countries have it. And I think the mechanisms provided in TRIPS to get access to control the door, which is in the fence consisting of patents, is sufficient. It must only be used. If people don't use it, too bad. Now, however, comes a different problem. And I have found, we have talked about this a lot, particularly with the German Ministry for Economy, and with whom I'm in permanent contact, as I said, because I'm the chair of it's a committee in the ministry since 2007. It is called Research Cooperation Model Agreements. And we have a round of industry people and political people and talk about how can we improve the transfer of technology from academia to private investors and all these things. So I speak with them a lot. And this is that the patentees, when you remember the discussion on the South Africa-India proposal started worldwide, was, yeah, but even if they have the right, if the patents are gone, they cannot make the vaccine, the Serum Institute in India or whomever, because there is additional know-how necessary to use this patented technology. Without that know-how for the lipids, for the whole compounds, whatever, if you don't have that know-how, which is not in the patents, you can't use the patents. Well, first of all, as a patent attorney, I say then, if you cannot use with the ordinary experiences and knowledge of the person skilled in the art a patent, the patent does not give an enabling teaching and it is simply invalid. So this is the first objection I would have against this, but assuming they are right. And I think they are right. There are so many tricks. It is not so complicated. It's not maybe rocket science after you have the patent right and you have good scientists working on your own production. I'm not a vaccine specialist, of course. I'm a physicist originally. You know what to do and you can do what is necessary. I don't have doubt. But taking this argument serious of the people who say, yeah, compulsory or waiver of free patent right use is all not good enough. Okay, then either the patents are invalid or we have to very seriously think about, and I'm in talks with that, not only with WTO, but also particularly with Darren Tang, the Director General of WIPO of WIPO, who is from Singapore. He understands the problems very, very well. I have known him since many, many years, long before he went ever to Geneva. And that is that we may need something for this knowledge to make vaccines, which applies also to other technologies, of course. But we are now talking about the vaccines and other medicaments which are COVID-19 fighting. If you need additional knowledge, which is not in the patents, but it is trade secrets, it is know-how which the developers are withholding up and are protecting by a totally different fence of intellectual property rights, namely trade secrets, then we need to do something which we have done already with indigenous knowledge when we go into biotech inventions where there is a deposit in Budapest where if your patent uses certain starting materials, certain gene sequences whatsoever, you have to deposit these things in Budapest in a trustee-controlled, publicly controlled at the end of the day depository, so that somebody who wishes to use the patent, particularly even if you wish to use it for experimental purposes, to be able to test whether you can improve, whether you can apply, you go to Budapest into the rules there and you take these gene sequences, these bacteria, whatever out, and you can study them. And I think we need something for that surplus of know-how in the production of vaccines and other COVID-fighting materials, depository under international control. Whoever does this, WIPO could be that, it could be some other United Nations institutions where people who have a patent, where they say themselves, you need additional know-how to exercise it, have to deposit. It must be mandatory, their know-how. And that will be kept secret there. But as soon as, because of other rules, like compulsory licensing provisions, which are used then by courts in certain countries, internationally, etc., say that there should be a compulsory, a mandatory license, compulsory is such a negative word, maybe mandatory license to give to everybody access to pharmaceuticals, vaccines under locally affordable conditions, etc., then that judgment is also the entry for the depository we are talking about, that you are entitled to take and get knowledge of that know-how which is deposited there. Then you have the complete teaching. The one in the patent and the second one in the depository, and you take it and can then really produce what is necessary. And I think this would be a supplement, not to the waiver proposal of India and South Africa, which for the reasons I have explained, I don't support, but for the compulsory licensing, to make it a complete instrument, to take away from the people who say, no, this should not be, compulsory licensing is a no, that you give a second possibility to get know-how, which you add then to also take, so to say, a door in the trade secret fence around the innovation in order to have a complete teaching to make these vaccines for the benefit of mankind, of countries like India and beyond, available for locally affordable prices. And I mean, the last one, maybe a last word, I know my time is over, would also be there is another possibility, of course, to get vaccines into countries. India, I think, doesn't need it. But I saw this recently in Taiwan, which needed, really desperately needed importation of vaccines. It was at that time the BioNTech vaccine. And there was a tricky situation because BioNTech, German company, had with Fosun China an exclusive license agreement, and that covered China. And according to the definition of the United Nations, also Germany accepts this definition, there's only one China, and Taiwan is part of it. So immediately, of course, BioNTech said to Taiwan, no problem, you go to Fosun, the Chinese licensee, and they will deliver whatever tons of vaccine you need. But for political reasons, I heard from friends in Taiwan, around Taiwan, Taiwan for many, many, many months refused to take it that way. Now they got it at the end of the day by certain arrangements, but it was because of that political reason. But I wanted to say, you need also to encourage exportation, of course, and the European Union, particularly Germany, they are exporting with our limited resources as much as we can. There's one obstacle against worldwide availability, of course. We know the full export restriction of United States on these things. Even if a German subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson, of Pfizer, whatever, if they make vaccine, it has to be shipped into the United States and is filled there into injection syringes, and they are under export restrictions. So they even cannot be used in Germany freely. So it is really a situation which needs resolvement, and this is the export restriction. That's a totally different story. Nobody speaks about it, but there is the real problem. Germany at least exports freely. So what is freely? You don't wish to export as an innovator into territories from where you think that the goods would be re-imported to your own country. Why? As long as you have if you have national exhaustion of patent rights, that means as long as you can use the patents of your own country, let's say around the OECD countries, to prevent cheap importation from other countries, there is still this soliciting investment function of the fence we are erecting. You have a high price island in countries where pharmaceuticals can have a higher price, and the big pharmas of this world make their profits mainly there. They could give it for free into other countries. No problem with that. The biggest part of the profit I heard, 80 to 90% is made in these high price countries like Germany, United States, Japan, and you name it. But if you give a possibility into the hands of others to destroy the high price level, and re-importation is that, we have a problem. So I'm a strong defender of national exhaustion, not international exhaustion. And because it allows, if we have national exhaustion, it allows price differentiation in various countries. It enables the creation of high price islands where enough incentive is given to pharma investors to invest into pharma and not into rental houses somewhere in Mumbai on the Arabian Sea. And this should be maintained. Maybe provided with a second mechanism that you say, only if you sell as the innovator, as the, let's say, BioNTech or whatever, in another country under a certain price, which could be, for example, the OECD price multiplied by a small factor, which is GDP per capita in the target country, divided by the GDP in your own country, only below that price level, then you enjoy national exhaustion, and that's fine, that's good enough. So it even encourages then cheap exportation. But international, unconditioned international exhaustion is a dangerous thing. I know I'm overdoing my time. My summary, I'm against the waiver. I'm in favor of controlled, government controlled on the prices under which the door can be opened and should be opened. That means a solid compulsory licensing regime. And I'm trying to convince enough people that you have seen this from, I think, the EU position in this whole thing, which is largely also a German position. and I'm talking with the government a lot about this, that we are, for that reason, we are not against freedom to use these things for the benefit of mankind, to India, for example, but we are against the cost-free use. That is the problem, because that will prevent future investment. And so I'm in favor of government control, public use orders, compulsory licensing, but I'm not in favor of waiving the intellectual property rights. No fence, then no investment. And no investment means no innovation. And if there's nothing innovated, there's nothing to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. Your words are guiding light in the path of innovation and research. Ladies and gentlemen, every ceremony is incomplete without appreciating the efforts of all those who have worked together for the success of it. I would now like to invite Dr. Chitresh Banerjee, sir, Associate Professor, Amity Institute of Information Technology, to propose a vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Bharat. Honorable Chief Patron, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan and Dr. Aseem Chauhan, Honorable Patrons, Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar and Professor Dr. Amit Jain, distinguished guest of honor, Professor Dr. Heinz Gadar, respected Provost, Professor Dr. G.K. Aseri, respected Registrar, Dr. Nitin Bhardwaj, respected Deans, Directors and Coordinators of various institutions, Organizing Chair, Dr. Manju Kaushik, eminent invited speakers, enthusiastic participants, esteemed faculty members of Amity University, Jaipur, Rajasthan. A very good morning to one and all present in the inaugural ceremony of Faculty Development Program on the role of IPR in innovation and research. On behalf of the organizing committee, I, Dr. Chitresh Banerjee, feel honored to propose a vote of thanks. I would like to start by thanking Almighty God, the omnipresent, by whose blessings we receive the strength to hold such events. I'm grateful to our patrons, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, Honorable Founder President Sir, Amity University, and Dr. Aseem Chauhan, Honorable Chancellor Sir, Amity University, Rajasthan, who have been the everlasting source of inspiration and motivation for all of us. A special mention to our Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar Sir, being the catalyst that inspired the team to do their best and stand as a pillar of power. I'm grateful to Professor Dr. Amit Jain, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Sir, Amity University, Rajasthan, and patron of this FDP, who has always been there as a guiding light during the planning and execution of this FDP. I'm thankful to Professor Dr. G.K. Aseri Sir, Provost and Dean Academics Director, Amity Institute of Microbial Technology, Amity University, Rajasthan, for his constant support and guidance. I would also like to place on record my heartfelt gratitude for the advice, guidance, and support provided by the senior members of Amity Group. I'm thankful to the conference chair, Dr. Manju Kaushik, who, in spite of all the odds, stood up with great zeal to organize this FDP. I express my wholehearted gratitude to Dr. Pallavi Mishra and Dr. Pratik Deol for the coordination of this FDP. We are indebted to our honorable guest of honor, Professor Dr. Heinz Gadar, German patent attorney and European patent and trademark attorney partner at Beaumont and Beaumont, to grace the inaugural session and benefit us immensely with his profound knowledge and pearls of wisdom. I feel that when we organize a function on such a digital platform, there are lots of people who are behind the curtain, and they are the one who facilitates us all possible technical and administrative help. I would like to wish a very thanks to Mr. Sahil Bhutani and his technical IT team, media committee comprising of our staff as well as the student volunteers. I also extend heartfelt gratitude towards the student body which has supported this academic endeavor with great zeal. I would like to specially mention the name of some students, Mr. Bharat, Ms. Neha Chandran, and Komal Yadav. I would like to thank our non-teaching staff, support and maintenance staff, who were simultaneously resolving all the secretarial and clerical work. My sincere regards to all the invited speakers who will be speaking on the various aspects during this 5-day of FDP. I would like to thank all the participants for their enthusiastic participation. Last but not the least, I would like to thank each one of them who have directly or indirectly helped us realize our academic dream. Gratitude. Thank you so much. Jai Hind. Over to Bharat now.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this auspicious ceremony. Once again, I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us for today. Participants, kindly stay back for the keynote session. Moving forward, now is the time for the most awaited, very first keynote session of our FDP. I would like to invite Dr. Pallavi Mishra ma'am, convener of Institutions Innovation Council, Amity University, Rajasthan, and Associate Professor, Amity School of Communications, to moderate the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Pallavi ma'am, please unmute. Unmute yourself, please.
Hello,
Yes, yes.
am I audible?
Yes. Bharat, yes. But here, you requesting.
Hello, am I audible?
Sure, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Thank you, Bharat. Thank you so much. A lovely morning to everyone. I, Dr. Pallavi Mishra, would like to extend a warm welcome to the speaker of the day, all the dignitaries, directors, HOIs, faculty members, faculty and industry participants to the first session of a 5-day faculty development program on role of IPR in innovation and research, organized by Institutions Innovation Council, Amity University, Rajasthan, supported by Entrepreneurship Cell, Amity University, Rajasthan, Amity Innovation Incubator, and Atal Innovation Mission. Before moving ahead, I would like to inform all the participants that 75% attendance is compulsory for the successful completion of this FDP, and it will be recorded on the basis of the feedback form that will be circulated. The feedback link will be shared at the end of the session, that is around 11:45 a.m. and it will stay active till 12 noon. After that, it will be deactivated. Failing to respond to the feedback during this time duration may affect your attendance. So I request all the participants to stay connected throughout the session. The participants may raise their queries in a QA session, wherein they may just raise their hands and our technical team will assist them. Actually, there is a slight change in the schedule of the speakers. As per the schedule, Dr. Sanjeev Majumdar sir, Scientific Officer at National Research Development Corporation, Government of India, was supposed to deliver his talk, but due to some urgency, he couldn't make it today. He will be with us tomorrow. So sincere apologies for that. The topic of this very first session is commercialization of patents. Today, in the times of virtual reality, digital media, robotics, automation, artificial intelligence, commercialization of patents is a common process. Commercialization of patents means the original owner of patent either sells or licenses the patent. It is important to understand the modus operandi of commercialization of the patents. So, to discuss about the strategies, planning, and execution of commercialization of the patents, today we have with us Ms. Latika Khanduja ma'am, the founder and director of IP Loya. With more than 15 years of experience, the areas of her expertise are ideation and innovation, protecting innovations in the form of patent, trademark, design, and copyright, planning IP strategy, litigation support, and managing IP assets. Prior to that, she has worked at Clearvolex, Gurugram as a technical specialist. Prior to that, she has served as a practice expert at eValue Serve Gurugram. She is a registered Indian patent agent. She has vast experience in IP counsel and attorneys of SMEs. She has worked for more than 500 companies in protecting innovation, planning IP strategy, managing and monetizing IP assets, and strengthening litigation arguments. So now I would like to welcome Ms. Latika Khanduja ma'am to deliver her talk. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Latika ma'am, for Professor Hans Goder.
Thank you so much, Pallavi ma'am and Manju ma'am for introducing me. I hope my voice is clear and my screen is visible. I will move ahead then.
Yes.
Great. Let me just minimize it. Okay. So welcome all and good morning to everybody. We will discuss today about overview of patents and patent commercialization. So let's move ahead with the agenda that what are we going to cover in today's session. So today we'll talk about patents, what are patents and brief introduction about the process as well. And we will also talk about patent commercialization and what are the different ways to license a patent. So before we jump onto the boring part of the presentation, I would like to talk about one interesting person and would like to take 2 minutes of your time before we actually go into the presentation. So that's Dr. Michael Doyer. I'm assuming that most of you are not aware of this person, and I really would like to take this opportunity to talk about this person. So who was he? So he was a researcher or inventor like you and me, University of California, and he invented a web browser that supported plug-in streaming media and cloud computing in 1990s. And he was intelligent enough and he was aware of the importance of the patents. That's why he filed patent application in 1990s, right? And you know what happened next? He found that his patent protected technology is used by Microsoft's Internet Explorer. That's why he reached out to Microsoft for licensing, but Microsoft denied. And that's why he reached out to US court and filed suit against Microsoft. And of course, other companies also, but we are focusing towards Microsoft in this particular case. And in return, he was awarded damages of $521 million. That's the power of patents. So as you can understand that, he could have simply spent time on his technology, improvising it and make sure that, it is user friendly and whatever, and, maybe addition of more features and everything. But since he actually took out time to file patent and he was aware of the processes and, importance, he actually filed patents, and that's why he got such a huge amount of money, right? So next, Michael Doyle could be you, but only and only if you actually protect your idea today. Because if you do not protect your idea, then somebody else will do it, and you will lose out the opportunity to get benefits out of it. But so your idea will not be fruitful, that much fruitful that you want it to be. Okay. So let's quickly discuss what is a patent. So most of you are already aware that patent is a right that is given to a person over creation of his or her mind, and it is used for preventing others from making, using, offering for sale, selling, or importing the invention. So for example, whenever you build a house, okay, what do? You actually try to create a boundary around your house so that you can say that inside this boundary, this is my right, this is my property, and nobody else is supposed to use it without my permission, right? Similarly, patents are used for creating boundary around your innovation, that this is my innovation, this is my property, and nobody else is supposed to use or copy it without my permission, right? I hope it is clear. So let's see some of the examples that can be patented. So this is just a very broad examples. So you can think of a recommendation engine that recommends similar products to a user. That can be on the basis of anything, it can be on the basis of a user history, how many times a user is clicking on a particular product, what is the location of the user, age, and so on, right? Another example could be a recommendation engine, which actually recommends, a particular route from going from place A to place B, right? So there could be another, lots of routes, but recommendation engine is recommending a particular route based on certain parameters, right? Another example could be a recommendation engine for recommending nearby restaurants to you, based on various factors. And another example could be a social platform media that provides ads based on user profile. Can be an autonomous vehicle, which is very much as news today's world. And it can be, let's say, a web camera. It can be any feature of an application which is running on your phone. It can be any measuring tool, and so on. The list is endless. But yeah, in India there are few categories which are not patentable. So for example, method for agriculture is not patentable, but that does not mean that, if you create a equipment for doing the agriculture, that cannot be protected. It's not like that. Only the method part is not patentable, but yes, you can protect your equipment for doing the agriculture. So moving on, you understand that why do we need to register a patent? Okay, some of the points I have already covered, but I would like to again emphasize on this aspect, because if you're not aware of such things, then you won't be able to you won't actually go and file for a patent, right? So the primary criteria for filing a patent is to stop anyone from copying your idea. Of course, it is your idea. You have spent sleepless nights, right? You don't want anyone to copy it without your permission or without giving any royalty to you, right? Otherwise, there is no point. Another reason is it can also act as a source of revenue. So as in case of Dr. Michael Doyer, you have seen that he got such a huge amount of money by doing that. Similarly, you can also think of licensing, or maybe if somebody is already using your patent protected technology, then you can also file a lawsuit against him, and it can act as a source of revenue to you, right? Another reason is to gain marketing edge and credibility. So you must have seen in a lot of FMCG products that if you actually look at the products, some companies actually write that this is my patent number on this particular product, right? And also they write patent pending. They use this tag patent pending whenever they apply the patent but not yet granted. So why they do that? It is just to make sure that they gain marketing edge, so in order to get edge over another product, similar products, right? And to get the trust, gain the trust of the audience, that this is my protected one, because we are having a new technology and it is very useful, and so on. So that's the reason, right? Another reason for filing a patent is that I was that it increases valuation of your company. So I was in discussion with lots of startups, and one of the main reasons that they really want to go for patent is that increases valuation of your company. It can be 2 times, 3 times, or maybe 10 times. That depends upon lots of factors. And whenever you reach out to any investors, or for funding purposes, you can actually see that they mostly they will ask that whether your idea is patent protected or not, because they want to invest in a company or in a particular technology which is protected, so that nobody else can enter that space, right? So moving on, I will talk about the timelines and the process of getting a patent quickly, and then we can discuss the how the commercialization is done. So if, let's say, the step one is basically about filing a provisional application, and this is completely optional, that you start with the provisional application. It is not mandatory. So what happens in this particular case? So the provisional application is actually filed. Okay, that's as the name suggests, that is a provisional or preliminary, intermediary, or you can say just like a placeholder. Okay, so in this particular case, we go for the provisional patent application only and only when your idea is still evolving. Okay, so that means that you have the basic idea, but you are not you are still coming up with the new features, and you are still improvising your product or process, right? So in this particular case, we go for the provisional patent application, okay, because it's a low cost, and it is of course less formality requirements are there. And in the provisional, this acts as a it is to get the benefit of the priority date. So let's say if you protect your basic idea today, then you are safe. Because if you wait for 6 months and you say that, okay, no, I don't want to go for provisional, I directly want to go for non-provisional, right? So let's say you will take 6 months of time period to file a non-provisional application. But during this time, during this 6 months, if somebody else file a patent, right, then you won't be able to get a patent. So that's why it is very important that you have to protect your idea as soon as you can. So for that, you can also go with the provisional application, but this is completely optional. Let's say if you begin with the provisional patent application, you have 12 months of time period to complete your invention and file a non-provisional application on the features, right? But if you do not file the non-provisional within 12 months of time period, then the provisional application would be abandoned. So that means it would be of no use, right? So it is actually advisable that if your idea is complete, then you should go for the non-provisional patent application, because it will save your effort, time, and everything. Okay, so once the non-provisional is filed, then it will be published, or it will come in or enter the public domain after 18 months. So it usually takes 18 months of time period for publishing, but you can expedite this process by paying additional fees for that. Okay, you can actually have the early publication. Once the patent application is published, then it will enter the queue for examination. So in this particular case, the examiner would look at your patent application, okay, and see whether all the criteria of getting a patent are fulfilled or not. So for example, in this particular case, he will see that whether your idea is new or not, okay, or whether your idea is obvious or not. So in this particular case, he will actually search for publications and patents which are that is related to the your idea, and this search is done worldwide. Okay, he will if let's say you file a patent application in India and the similar idea is already protected by someone in US, then you won't be able to get a patent on that, because the examiner would say that, so this is not new, this is already filed by someone else, protected by someone else, or it is already uh, filed in a particular patent. If not, let's say it is not granted, so in this particular case, examiner might also reject the patent application, right? So you have to make sure that whenever you apply the patent application, the content, or the application should contain the unique it should be unique. That should your idea should be new. So for that, we actually, prior to even filing the patent application, we conduct a patentability search to see what all documents or patents we have in this area, and see if they are actually disclosing your complete invention or not. Okay, so in that examination phase, when in most of the cases, you will have some sort of examination report or office action from examiner, and we need to address each and every objection and rejection of the examiner. Okay, there could be hearings as well, and once all the issues are addressed, all the issues are overcome, then your patent would be granted. Okay, that means from this date, from the date of grant, you can actually get benefits from your patent. So that means you can actually enforce your patent, right? And the patent is uh, valid for 20 years from date of filing. After that, it would be expired and you won't be able to renew it. That means you cannot enjoy the benefits of a patent after 20 years once it is expired, right? One more thing that I wanted to point out here is that patents are territorial, right? So that means if you want to take so you have to decide, okay, if you want to take protection in India, then we have to file patent application in India. And if you want to get the protection in US as well, for example, then you have to file patent application in US as well. Okay, it is not that if you file the patent application in India, then you will get protection in all the countries, that includes China, Japan, Europe and US. So we have to enter different jurisdiction in a particular time. So moving on, once the I mean this is a very important part to understand the commercialization. So patent commercialization can be done only for granted patents and not for provisional patent application or pending non-provisional patent application. As it is very obvious because your scope is not decided until the patent is granted. So it can be only done for the granted patents, because at that time you know that this is my scope and this is what I can protect. Or if somebody is doing something on the granted patent, then only you will be able to say that this is covered under my scope, and you won't be able to do that. But prior to that, since your scope is not itself granted, then you cannot go and say anything about it. So moving on. So let's see, what is a patent commercialization? So in a layman terms, you can say that if you are gaining money out of your patent, that is patent commercialization, right? So the patent commercialization can be done through any of the means, right? It can be by launching your product in the market using your patented technology. Okay, another way could be licensing patent rights to one or more parties, right? So license can be exclusive license, also it can be non-exclusive license. So you can actually license to the patent rights to another person so that they can also use your technology, and of course in return they have to give you some royalty for that, right? And the third way is by selling the patent to a third party. I hope it is fine. Let's move on. Let's emphasize on the second and third point, because the first point is it's very clear that if you have your product, you're launching your product in the market and it is protected by means of patent. So that is quite obvious. So let's discuss more about point number 2 and 3. So how? What are the different ways by which we can commercialize patents to third party? Okay, so in this particular case, there could be, of course, there can be various ways, but let's discuss these 3 points. So first is the infringement detection and enforcement. Okay, where we will see that if somebody is, already using my patent protected technology in their product. So as in case of Michael Doyer, we have seen that he has actually found that his patent protected technology is used by Microsoft Internet Explorer, right? So this is how we go for infringement license. So after determining the infringement, you go for infringement license. Second point is technology licensing. So in this particular case, you are not only licensing the patents, but you are also licensing the know-how and each and everything with respect to technology to the person who wants to take license. Okay. And third is the SAPs and FRAN. Let's talk about all these things in the subsequent slides in detail. So let's begin with the patent infringement. Okay, so what is the meaning of patent infringement? As I've mentioned, like in the case of Michael Doyle as well. So let's say if a person or a company has committed an act of making, using, offering for sale, or selling something that contains every element of your patented invention or its equivalent without your consent, then it is considered as patent infringement. So that means for doing a patent, for infringing a particular patent, that person has to use your technology without your consent. But if, let's say, you have already given your consent, then he is free to do that, and there is no patent infringement. Okay, so how you determine that whether somebody is infringing your patent or not? Okay, so in short, you can say that how we can identify that this particular product is infringing on your patented product, a patented patent, right? So in this particular case, you have to search or identify companies that are launched after the priority date of your patent. Of course, I mean, let's say if uh, your priority is let's say 2010, okay, and somebody has launched his product in 2005, then you won't be able to stop that person, or you cannot say that you are infringing on my product, because that person has launched his product before priority date of your patent. In fact, in that particular case, that thing can be also used to invalidate your patent, because if the technology was already existing prior to the your patent, then your patent would can be invalidated also. Okay, so that means in order to identify the infringing product, you have to see that what are the products uh, that are talking about the similar idea after the priority date of your patent, right? And we have to make sure that all the elements present in your claim, in your independent claim specifically, should be fully infringed. And that's why the quality of patent is very, very important. Okay, because if you go for to a particular company and ask that company to take license, he will look at the patent and he will try to make sure that he finds some kind of loopholes and try to circumvent, so that he does not have to go and license it from you, right? So that's very important, that if you file a patent application which is good quality, so that he cannot find any loopholes and circumvent the patent application, so that he just want to avoid the licensing. So you have to be very careful that you have to focus on quality patent rather than just getting a patent on your technology if you want to go for commercialization. Okay, and the third main aspect is that your patent should be granted. If it is not granted, then of course you won't be able to get or enforce it, or you cannot say anyone that you have to get a license because you're using my patent protected technology. So this is very important, right? So moving on, I'll just give you one example of proof of infringement. So this is the way how we are trying to prove that you are infringing on someone's product. Okay, so as you can see here, that this is the claim element, so this is the independent claim, and as you can see that we have mapped each and every feature in the description of the product. Okay, and so for example, so for storing media content we can show few things, and for another feature we have to show few things. So this is very important, because if each and every feature are not protected, then you won't say that you are infringing on my product. So this is how you have to match each and every small feature also with the description of the product. So in between, if you can see that this is the description of the product and this is the claim element, and we have mapped each feature with respect to description of the product that a person is using. moving on to another aspect, that what you should do if you find any infringement. Okay, so let's say if you found that let's say your technology is also used by Microsoft, so what you can do? So in that case, first of all, you can send a notice of infringement. Okay, that can be a legal notice or it can be a simple notice also, right? So after sending the notice, you can actually, I mean, there are two ways. Either you can stop the sale of the product, okay, of the other person, and or you can also ask the infringer to license your technology. Okay, you can actually go for any of these things. So if the person, let's say, is not ready to license, then of course you can go for injunction, and if he's ready, then of course you can go for licensing, right? So as I've mentioned earlier, that the patent licensing licenses can be exclusive or non-exclusive. So for example, uh, it could be exclusive to a particular thing or to particular company, or it can be non-exclusive as well. So moving on to another type of licensing. So in this particular case, as I have mentioned earlier, that you know technology licensing is a type of licensing in which a licensor agrees to transfer know-how or IP of a technology. So that means in this particular case, you're not only transferring the patent or licensing the patent, okay, you are also transferring know-how, or even you are providing trainings on the technology to the person who wants to take license from you. Okay, so how the licensing technology licensing is done? So for that, you have to identify companies who need your invention, right? So in order to summarize the two types of technologies and to differentiate between these two, so in infringement licensing or in patent infringement, you actually find a party who has already copied your invention. Okay, so that means he is already using it, your invention. But in technology licensing, you have to find a party who needs your invention, but he has not I mean, until now he has not copied or not infringing on your product. Okay, so let's see how the technology licensing works. So how we have to identify companies that needs your invention. Okay, so first of all, I mean, there could be lots of ways to do that, but these are some of the ways which are more prominent, and that's why I've highlighted only these aspects. So you can identify companies who are facing similar problem that your patent is solving. Okay, so that means you have to identify maybe through patents or through description of the companies, that are they facing the same problem that your patent is actually solving. In that case, you can go and ask to the person that you can take the license, and this will also benefit you in so and so ways, right? And other way is to find companies that may be benefited by using your technology, and that can be in the same industry or different industry. So for example, let's say an automotive company own a patent to reduce noise of a fan in the engine. Okay, so that means, I mean, you have to think like that, that if a patent is reducing noise of a fan in the engine, that particular technology can also be applied to any other fan. So for example, the fan that we have in our home, or a fan in the laptop or CPU. So anywhere, wherever the fan is being used, that particular technology can be applied as well, right? Even though the patent talks about reducing noise of a fan and engine, but you have to see that whether this particular technology can be used in different industry or by different people or not, right? And then you can go and say that, okay, this is how we can go ahead with the technology licensing. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the third part of the licensing, which is SAPs and FRAND licensing. So let's see what are they. So to begin with, the SAPs are basically standard essential patents. Okay, and it is a patent that claims an invention that is part of a standard. So basically, there is a standard, okay, which is defined by Standard Development Organization and other companies that are operating in that industry, and they actually come together and mutually decide that, okay, this is a particular standard that we will going to comply with. And once a standard is, let's say, decided by the companies and the organization, then if everybody is okay, then a standard would be made, and the patents that protects those standards, so there could be one or more patents that could be protecting those standards. Those patents are called standard essential patent. Okay, so let me just try to give you one example in this particular case. So you might have heard of LTE standard. Okay, so what is that? So in this particular case, all the, you can say, telecom operator or other companies that are operating in the telecom industry, they are coming together and they are deciding that, okay, all of us will be following this particular standard, and we will have this standard in all our technology or the equipments that we will use. Okay, so once the standard is decided by the companies, all the companies that are part of the standard development organization or not, they have to follow those standards, right? So if there is some LT standard, then all the companies, whether it can be a manufacturer or operator, they have to follow those standards and they have to comply with that standard. Okay, I hope it is fine and clear. And there could be some patents which actually protects those standards, so those are called standard essential patents. Okay, so moving on to FRAND licensing, that how it works. So basically, what is the FRAND licensing? So FRAND stands for fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory. Okay, and why it is used? I mean, it is basically used for creating a right balance between interest of user of the technology and a person who wants to provide the technology. Okay, so how it is done? So in this particular case, let's say, let's take an example here. Let's say the particular standards, let's say LT standard, is protected by 5 patents of Ericsson. Okay, so companies or the standard organization, they mutually decide that what would be the FRAND licensing rate for this standard essential patent. Okay, so that means we have to come up with a particular rate which every operator or manufacturer has to pay to get the license of SEP. So that means if a particular FRAND licensing rate is decided for a particular patent Ericsson is having, okay, let's say Ericsson is having 5 patents, and we have decided that this would be the licensing rate for using this particular standard by every operator or manufacturer. Then each operator and manufacturer has to pay license fees to Ericsson. So it can be done directly to the Ericsson, or it can be done through SDO, and SDO will redirect it to Ericsson, because Ericsson is the owner of those standard essential patents, right? And so, I mean, why they are deciding on a FRAND licensing rate? I mean, why they actually have to go for it? Because if every operator and manufacturer has to pay the license fees, then the fees cannot be, I mean, high. It has to be nominal, okay, so that operator and manufacturer does not face any challenges in paying the license fee. On the other hand, the rate also takes into the consideration that how much the investment is done by Ericsson. Okay, so that's why it is a fair and reasonable licensing, which takes into consideration that how much I mean, to compensate for the efforts that Ericsson has made, and also for the, I mean, since everybody has to pay the license fees, then it has to be normal. It cannot be very huge, otherwise it will create problems, right? So let's say if you have a patent, and that is a standard essential patent, okay? So that means your patent is protecting the standards that are defined by the organization. Then you will get standard licensing fee or the FRAND rate for your patent from all the companies who are either manufacturing the products and that comply with the corresponding standard, or any operator. So anybody who is using those features that are protected in your standard essential patent, you will get standard licensing fee from everyone. And it can be done through any means. So for example, one of the ways to do this is that, if let's say, um, if we have if we have a particular technology and it is used in automotive industry, okay, so the licensing fee can be simply extracted by basis on the number of cars that are sold. So for, let's say, each car that is being sold by a automotive company, that particular company needs to give, let's say, 15 or $20 for each car to you, okay, because your um feature is protected under standard essential patent, and since they all have to pay the license fees, then there could be different means by which they can give that, because $15 $20 per car is not a very big amount that they have to give. And you can also see that if there are, I mean, so many cars are being sold in a particular day, let's say, then you will get, I mean, very good amount from those things. So I hope this particular aspect is clear, and I have, I mean, discussed this in very detail. So let's see, basis, I mean, let's discuss about the quality of patents now, because everything, I mean, the commercialization of the patent is mainly dependent on the quality of the patent, okay? It is very, very important. So not all the patents actually reach to that state that uh, for commercialization, you can say, okay. And it is mostly, it is dependent upon the quality of your invention and the quality of the draft of the patent application, okay. So this is very, very important. If the quality is bad, then anyone else, even if, let's say, you go and ask somebody that you have to get a license, or you are trying to sell a technology license or something, then they will simply find some kind of loopholes and try to circumvent, so that they can actually use your technology without even getting a license from you. So that's where the quality is very important. If you do not allow that person to actually modify or circumvent any technology, then he has to get a license from you, and it is only possible if the quality is good, right? And that's why it is imperative that you focus on getting a quality patent, okay, from an experienced patent professional, rather than just going for the cheapest option available in the market. Because even if the low patent quality is granted, I mean, low quality patent is granted, then there would be no commercial value. You can have the patent, of course, it could be granted as well, but there would be no commercial value of that. And that's where it is very important, and that's why we have to invest in getting quality patents. So let's see how we can help you in getting patent, and after that also. So first, we can actually provide, so to begin with, we provide free consultancy with respect to your ideation and innovation consultancy, you can say. So where we will discuss about whether your patent is actually worth patenting or not, okay. So in this particular case, we understand the idea and we see that whether your idea can even be protected or not, whether it is unique or not by not conducting any search. So let's say if you come up with the idea that you have discovered a living or non-living thing, so that in India cannot be patented, and there are other categories as well which are not patented. And we can also discuss in this particular phase that let's say if you have a particular product and if you want to protect the overall product, okay, then we can also discuss that how and in which way we can actually protect the product. So it can be by filing multiple patent application on different aspects, so that all your idea is protected by means of patents. So it can be for on the basis of one patent, or it can be on the basis of more than one patent. Okay. So in the next step, we can also conduct a patentability search. So in this particular case, as I have mentioned that it is very important that we conduct a patentability search to understand whether your idea is already disclosed or protected by someone else in the world or not. Because if it is already, let's say, protected or somebody has already filed for a patent in the US and it is talking about the same idea as yours, then you won't be able to get a patent on that. So there's no point in going ahead and spending money and time and effort and everything. This is very important. Of course, this is optional step, but it is recommended because this will help you in understanding whether your idea is new or not, and which part of the product is actually new. Okay, so there are two ways to actually utilize this search. So one way is to check whether your idea is already disclosed by someone else or not. Second way is to fine tune your application or to actually understand that which feature is actually new in your product. Okay. So the next phase is drafting of the patent application. So in this particular case, we of course, as I mentioned that this is a very important aspect because a patent is a techno-legal document. You can also draft the patent application, but you may only have the technical expertise, but you don't have the legal expertise, and you may not be aware of the processes or the things that you have to consider so as to make sure that the scope is wider. Okay, because if the scope is not wider, then there would be no commercial value, right? So since you might lack of legal expertise, it is recommended that you get a professional help from patent agent or attorney like me to draft a patent application for you. And in the second and the fourth step, we will file the patent application in the patent office. So we will so that is completely dependent on you, that let's say if you say that you want to protect your idea in India, we will go ahead and file the patent application in India. If you say that you want to protect your patent application in US, we will file the patent application in US. Okay, so that you have to decide where you think your market is and where you want to actually protect. You can also enter maybe 10 countries. So if you think that your market is very broad and it is spread across the world, then you can select those particular countries where you want to go for it. Okay. Another aspect where we can support you is in the patent examination or the prosecution stage. So in this particular case, as we discussed that the patent examiner would look at your patent applications to see whether all the criterias are fulfilled or not. Okay, so in most of the cases he will give some sort of examination report and office action, but do not panic because it's a general thing and it will come. So we need to actually respond to the examination report or office action, and we have to address each and every objection and rejection. Okay, we may also attend hearing so that all the issues are addressed. So once all the issues are addressed, of course your patent application would be granted, and now you can enjoy or enforce the patent application. And in at the last step, and it's not last, of course, we can also support in patent commercialization. So let's say if you want us to identify companies which are infringing on your product or any other means, then we can of course help you in doing that. And apart from that, I mean, I have not included those aspects here. So let's say if you also want in future to invalidate a particular, particular patent that other person is having, we can of course go and do that also. I mean, when we deal in lot of aspects, we help you in supporting almost in each and every aspect of the patents. So if you want to uh, develop a IP strategy, or you want to know that what other players are doing, and how you can proceed with your IP strategy, we can of course help you in each and every stage. Okay. So at last, I would like to thank you everyone for joining today's session, and I would request you to follow my firm IP Lawyer on LinkedIn, because I usually send or post weekly updates on patents, and they are easy to understand videos. You can go through that and know more about patents, and how you can get a patent in India and USA, or what are the various rules and regulations. And you can also visit my website at www.iplawyer.com. For any queries, you can also email me at latika.khanduja@iplawyer.com, or info@iplawyer.com. And you can also, please feel free to call me directly if you have any queries, and I'll be happy to assist you. You can call me or reach out to me on 9811 Thank you so much for joining to this session, and I hope you uh, enjoyed and got some insights about patents as well as patent commercialization. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The participants who has any query, you are just supposed to raise your hands. Our technical team will unmute you, and then you may ask your question. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have landed to QA session, and the participants, I request those who have any query, they may raise the query. They may just raise their hands, and our technical team will assist them. Hello, is there any query? Bharat? Hello.
No, ma'am.
Okay. The link has been shared, the feedback link. Hello.
I'll be sharing the feedback link in the chat section, and participants are requested to kindly fill the feedback link.
So, dear participants, the feedback link is being shared in the chat box. Please fill the feedback form.
भूखे को खाना
So, as there is
जो शांति मिलती है ना वही है, जहाँ मिले जो मिले जरूर
So I can see one question, that how to do the patent search. So in this particular case, what generally we do is, we have few paid databases. So in that we actually run multiple search strings, broad as well as narrow, to understand if your idea is already protected or published by someone else or not. And there are, of course, databases for conducting the uh, for conducting the uh, for conducting the non-patent literature also. So we use those databases and do that. But if you want a broader idea, then you can of course use Google Patents or eSpaceNet or WIPO to conduct the search. Let's say if you want to check, whether this is filed in India, there is a separate Indian Patent Office website where you can search there as well. So, I mean, that's the only way to, since you might not be using paid databases, so that's the only means that are left with you. And you can also, check free non-patent literatures, and you can simply use Google to do that. Thank you. Okay, another question is where to file for patent in India. So, who is the authorized office to file patent? So, in this particular case, in India, there are 4 patent office. One is in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai. So, you can file patents, and you really don't have to go to such places. I mean, you can do it online. So, they will, automatically check that. Let's say if you are staying in Gurgaon, then your jurisdiction would automatically be considered under Delhi. So, because everything is online, you don't have to go to a patent office, and you can just do it by filling the form online. Okay. Yeah. So the next question is, if a patent is filed in Rajasthan, that will cover the entire India, or we need to file patent in different states. So in this particular case, it's not like that. Once you file the patent application. So let's say if you are in Gurgaon, then only your patent application would by default be sent to, or be filed in Delhi Patent Office, and you don't have to. There is not even option to go and file the same patent application in different patent office. So once, jurisdiction is defined. So let's say for Gujarat, it is Mumbai. So all the person, whosoever who is staying in Gujarat wants to file a patent, then automatically they will be directed towards Mumbai patent office, and they don't have to file the patent office anywhere else also. So it's only once you have to file. Any other queries? So if you have any queries, you may have query later on also, you are free to contact me through my email ID or through LinkedIn, or you can directly call me as well, and I'm happy to help you in that.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, your voice is breaking a bit.
Hello, am I audible?
Yep.
Sorry
Yes, ma'am.
for the inconvenience. My call was dropped. Is there any query? Okay. Yes, ma'am, there is no query. So with this, we come to the end of the this FDP, and with the proposing the vote of thanks. As all good things come to an end in life, so is this interesting session. This was really very interesting session. We got to know so much about IPR, about IP, patents, commercialization of patents. I must mention my deep sense of appreciation to Ms. Latika Khanduja ma'am for sparing her valuable time and accepting our invitation for this FDP. And I would like to express my heartiest gratitude as ma'am, you accepted the last minute changes of the schedule. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing your valuable knowledge and experience with us. She talked about the modus operandi of planning and execution of commercialization of to third party. It was indeed an enriching and enlightening session. She even talked about why do we need a patent? What is the need of the patent at this hour? Timeline of patent process, technology licensing, standard essential patents. She delineated how to commercialize patents, methods of planning IP strategies, managing IP assets. Now we are all equipped with the knowledge of aspects of commercialization of patents and why it is important in present times. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an engaging and fruitful session. I would also like to extend my gratitude towards Dr. Manju Kaushik, ma'am, Organizing Chair, President, Institution, Innovation Council, AUR, Head, ECEL, Atal Innovation Incubator, AUR, for her unflinching support, advice, and coordination. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Chutresh Banerjee, sir, Associate Professor, AIIT, Dr. Prateek Deol, sir, Assistant Professor, ALS, AUR, all the HOIs, coordinators, directors, dean, everyone, all the dignitaries, the student coordinators, Mr. Bharat Nenwani, Ms. Neha Chandran, Ms. Komal Yadav, media team, social media team, designing team, technical team, for their kind support and coordination. Last but not the least, all the participants for their active participation. With these warm words, we move towards the end of the session. Tomorrow, the session will start at 10 a.m. and it is requested to all the participants to please join in by sharp 9:50 a.m. Has everyone filled the feedback form? Is it done? Okay, thank you everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bharat, I think some filling.
Yes, ma'am. I guess there's a query from Dr. Gayatri Rai.
Form.
Ma'am, you have the permissions now. Kindly unmute yourself and ask the query.
So I can see a query that there is some difficulty in filing the form. So I understand that in India, we have to file different kind of forms. So I would request you to please, get in touch with me directly, because I want to understand, which particular form we are discussing here and what exactly is the query, and I will be happy to assist you in that. Okay, so it was actually feedback form.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Latika ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Can I close the session?